Hi, friends. Welcome back. I hope you had a nice, get up from the chair for a few minutes and go do stuff. We're back. Max beat Undertale. Now let's talk about Undertale.
Hooray.
Undertale, hooray!
This time.
I minimized it, and there we go. There's our faces. Okay. Hello. Now I lost chat. There's chat. So, Mags, do we want to just start with like your thoughts in as rambly or concise a manner as you wish to do?
Probably fairly rambly, I suppose. I didn't really know much about what to expect with Undertale starting out. As you know, I have heard people reference it tons. This is a very, very popular game, especially in our circles. But I had played, I guess I was somewhere in Snowdon, I think, is where I got stalled out the first time I tried to play it. So I do think it was very cute and very fun. The twists were pretty good and unexpected. And the first time Flowey came out of nowhere was extremely unexpected.
Yeah, you broke for a few seconds there.
Yeah. Yep. And then I wasn't sure how I felt about it in general, but I do think that going back to really complete the pacifist route did make it feel like much more of a complete story. It was a much more satisfying ending than the neutral route provided at the beginning. It was just, I don't know, if I hadn't had someone coaching me through it, which, by the way, thank you, Hipster, for hanging out for every single stream. But if I hadn't had someone coaching me through it, I probably wouldn't have even bothered going back to the end, because it's kind of confusing and not really clear, and also just frustrating. And that first ending with Flowey was just so far out of left field. It was such a twist, and all of the back and forth with I'm deleting your save files and blah 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 was just a lot of an emotional roller coaster, so much so that I just kind of felt frustrated by the end of it. Okay. At the end of that.
Yeah, I wonder if part of that was just the fact that you were kind of under a time constraint, which most players wouldn't necessarily be. Yeah, we're talking about it on this day, or you'd be done by this day. But
yeah, I was like, I don't want to have to add in an extra stream. And I'm also not going to play another hour and a half right now. Yeah, so it is limiting doing some stuff on stream. It does kind of limit the experience a little bit in some ways. Okay.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. So, Trina, have you played the game recently, or
I played a couple years ago. It was definitely after the wedding. I remember having the balcony view behind me, which is really weird. But yeah, no, it would have been 2018 at latest. So I don't know, maybe I told you when, we were talking about Undertale, I was like, I don't know if I have strong feelings about Undertale. So it was good to watch again and be like, what even is this game? Where are you going, Kat? Kat can't decide. She's been here the whole time.
Kat has feelings. Oh. She's so fluffy.
She is very fluffy.
That's nice.
But yeah, no, I'm trying to even remember my initial, I enjoyed the game. I played as much as you did. I did the neutral ending, and I did although I did actually kill more people on my neutral route. Okay. I couldn't figure out how to not kill Undyne. I just was like, you know what, this seems like it's going to take less time if I don't. But more to the point, I was killing a lot of the smaller monsters along the way. I was drawing the line at as often as possible, I won't kill the important ones, but I assumed the game was going to make the level thing, like, actually necessary for something, and I'm like, well, I'll just do it. And then it was like, oh, okay.
Did that have any functional difference in the end game, having
Not-
killed some monsters?
I mean, Sans wasn't like, you're such a good, pure person. But, no,
And
I mean...
Undyne probably wasn't there, I guess.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it doesn't have a huge effect on, like, the end of the game itself, but it did mean I had to actually, like, go play the entirety of the game through again. I couldn't just reload and do the stuff that you
Because Undyne
had
had been dead.
Yes, because I killed.
You don't get Flowey showing up saying, "Hey, why don't you go hang out with Alpha some?" It's play it again and do it right this time.
Yes, stop murdering.
Ouch.
Like there's like, I think it kind of works into it a little bit from the perspective of, like, the game is much harder. Like, you experienced everything having not gotten those level ups before. And, like, it kind of throws it at the perspective of, you have to work to get the pacifist ending. Because you might hit a point where you're, like, fighting Undyne, or you're fighting, like Metaton or something, where you're having difficulty and you're like, man, it really would be easier if I had, like, more HP. So you do some grinding beforehand, get some levels, you get that HP bar that goes up, but you're now stuck to just doing the neutral route instead of being like, you know, I'm dedicated to not hurting anybody, so I'm gonna make it harder than myself rather than taking advantage of someone else to get ahead.
Which is commentary in itself.
Yup.
So yeah,
like,
I don't know.
The first time that I had played, I was like, I heard people saying, "Oh man, the genocide route is, like, so tough, blah blah blah. Like, you get to do cool fights," and I was like, "All right, I'm gonna do that." But I kind of went in blind too. So, like, I just beat everybody that I came across and then did the boss fights. But that doesn't get you on the genocide route. Like, you actively have, because, like, basically there reaches a point in each area where monsters just stop showing up if you, like, grind to beat them. So, like, you actively have to go out of your way to get it. So I kind of had a similar approach to Trina, where I got the neutral route and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that was it. But, like, I had a bunch of health, so it was, like, really easy. So I was like, thought people were saying that this was hard. Like, I'm just breezing through all of these boss fights without any trouble, just because I had a ton of health and a ton of good stuff.
So tell us about the genocide route and what that actually means.
I would say,
So
how does that play out in
what
the
it-
story? Since
What?
I've never actually, like, I've never done it, obviously, but, like, I've never even watched anyone do it, and I'm curious how it plays out, like, story-wise.
So, story-wise, it's very limited. Like, for the most part, like, you run into...
everybody.
you get to a point in the library where it's like, basically, if a human being has, like, just a massive desire to, like, kill people, they can just one-shot monsters. So, like, that story beat kind of, like, simplifies a lot of the encounters. Like, Papyrus is very, like, hey, you're kind of being a jerk, you know, but I believe in you. You can be a good person. And then you just one-shot him. And he's just like, huh, this didn't turn out how I thought it would.
Oh.
Like, Sans is very in the know and is like, hey, you should, like, there's a line that's like, you're gonna have a bad time. And, like, the line where he's like, hey, my brother really wants to see a human, but in the genocide route, he's like, so why don't you try to pretend to be one? Like, you kill, Toriel, and she's like, hey, I thought that I was protecting you from them, but I was actually protecting them from you. And eventually you get to the point where, like, they're telling everybody, hey, this monster is coming through, wiping everybody out, and, like, they evacuate everything. But the big fights that you have is Undyne. The monster kid is like, hey, you're kind of a jerk, I'm gonna stop you, and like gets in your way, and you go to swing at him, and Undyne pushes him out of the way and takes the hit and starts to like melt. And then it was like, no, I gotta protect everybody. And then her determination like has her turn into like this big hero that's basically the fight against Undyne turned up to like 11. And like that's a big fight. And then you get to the checkpoint with Sans, and he's just like, you know, I've got to stop you. There's bad stuff happening with the timeline, basically. And then you just have to go and fight with them. And it's basically you're doing this because you can, because you want to, you think that it's cool. It's basically working with the perspective of a player playing like a player in a game. Like, you want to get the hardest fights, you want to prove that you can do it. And like I said, you basically have to like actively look for enemies to fight, because there's actually something that they do with the encounter rate, where as you fight more monsters in an area, the encounter rate goes down. So you have to like run around to basically prove to the game that you want this to happen. And eventually like it stops showing up. That being said, there's a weird thing that speedrunners found out, that if you like walk into a wall and hold the up and down buttons, it acts as like walking, because it like glitches in and out of the wall, and it makes encounters show up faster. But like basically it is, everybody is like fighting and trying to keep you from getting to the end of the game. And all of the puzzles get turned off, and it ends up that it's Flowey helping you. And you get to the end, and he's like,
"I enjoy murder, wouldn't he?"
Well, he's like, "Hey, I helped you. We're friends, right?" And then he's like, "Oh no, wait a second, this was a mistake. While you're getting close to me, stop." And then like your character instinctively, without you like doing anything, basically just destroys Flowey. And like the implication is that the character that you name is the lost child that fell down and somehow got a connection to Frisk and was guiding him through everything.
Okay.
It was basically like you as a character were the character that you named. And if your bloodlust is strong enough, when you get to the end, like he kind of pops out and was like, "Hey, you know, good job." I can't remember exactly what it is, but basically it's like what?
Yeah,
Oh,
Phil has
no mercy.
pointed out that it's a no mercy route. Yeah.
All right.
Canonically speaking. Yeah.
But yeah, the it basically comes out and it was like, "Hey, why don't we work together?" And if you reach the end and it's you say no, he's like, "Since when have you been in charge?" And basically zooms and attacks UCU9s all over the place. And then basically you I think wait like 10 minutes, and he comes back and it's like, "Hey, you can like restart, but it'll cost you your soul. And you can give it up and you can go through and do the route again." And apparently it like, since it does like save stuff, it like permanently like changes your files, so you can't go back. Like if you go and do the pacifist route after doing genocide route, there's actually a bit at the end
No
when
mercy
Toriel
route.
yeah, mercy route. I apologize.
Yeah.
I've been damaged by seeing it cause that for a while, but like the character looks at the screen after Toriel drops off the pie and has like red eyes, and you see like a photograph of all the characters at the end with like eyes crossed out, and like there isn't a way to fix that, like even if you like reset, and it is supposed to be like you gotta live with doing a no mercy run for the rest of your save file. That being said, people found out that you could like change things in the save file on the PC
I
version
would
to
say
turn
at
it
the
off.
least,
But
if you like uninstalled and reinstalled, I would assume that it would fix it.
but it's like basically goes into like the perspective of like doing something that serious kind of like lives with you for the rest of your playing the game.
Reincarnations or whatever.
Like, and even in that, it kind of goes into a little bit more of kind of like there are like save files, different timeline stuff going on. Like it plays into a lot of the kind of working with like like explaining game features in universe. Like even in the fight against Sans, like it plays with the way that the game is a game. Like he starts attacking you as you're doing like menuing. Like his attacks will show up, and like if you go and do you have to like time when you go to the items if you want to heal or something, because like there are bones that are going in and out on the save file, and like your heart thing takes damage.
Huh. Wow. That's interesting. It's a totally different approach to replayability in games. You know, a lot of RPGs these days have the like New Game Plus feature where like you get bonuses for replaying the game, and it kind of rewards you for doing so. Like with this, especially if you go that direction, it almost punishes you for replaying the game.
Only if you were a terrible person.
Only if you were a terrible person. Like the end of the good person route, as we saw, was Are you okay? She just made a funny noise and ran in here. Weird. But the what's his face? Azriel was saying that he just wants to like keep playing with you. I don't want to stop playing. Keep playing this game, okay? It was like a totally different take from going that direction.
And in fact, once you get the entire pacifist route, if you load up the game and try and start again, I can't remember if it's Azrael or Flowey shows up and says, hey, you got the good ending, everybody's happy, like don't restart the game and take that away from them. Like it basically guilts you if you want to try and start the game again after you've gotten the pacifist run and gotten everybody their happy ending. And you're like, yeah, but I want to play the game again. So they have to go back to where they're like sad and depressed being trapped underground just so I can play the game and hang out with them more.
Yeah, but also they're safe there. They're safe and they're happy underground. Happy enough. And I don't know, there are some interesting layers there, like right at the end. When you do go back to talk to Azriel, and he was telling you about how his sibling like experienced real trauma out on the surface, and it made him a terrible person to wanted to do terrible things, and it kind of left it on like more of a grayish note that, you know, the world out there is dangerous, so y'all be careful.
Right.
In the end, I almost wonder if like my lack of enthusiasm towards the game is that it was too meta. Like I can appreciate the like gameplay as this sort of like meta commentary device, and I can appreciate the characters, but I feel like when you put them together, the meta starts to like overshadow the characters in the story, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like I really enjoy that. Like I mean, you know, like Asgore especially, you know, in this like my people are trapped, but for them to escape, I have to, you know, kill people, and like his whole like conflict there and how he ends up dealing with it, and like just everyone's relationships with each other. But it's just like, okay, but also have you considered like the multiple endings and the like, I don't know. I think a lot of the games that I tend to gravitate towards are just like more, I don't want to say straightforward visual novels given how much Zero Escape I've played with like different timelines affecting each other.
Boyfriend got kind of weird as far as I remember.
Yes, it did. but like it wasn't a meta weird. Like it was, there's just weird space-time stuff happening within the universe of the game in some of these games, and that's not there's a line there somewhere, and I guess I slightly prefer stuff on the in-universe side of the line, but I don't know, maybe I'm also just getting tired of sorry, jumping over to children's literature. Obviously we all love Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus, but like, and you know, Monster at the end of this book, I feel like was the original meta picture book, but like, it's just becoming like such a trend, and I'm like, okay, this was cute and funny the first like couple times, and now it's just like, oh look, another book where the character's talking to the kids, and the kids will think it's cute still. Yes, kids like repetition, but I'm just like, I'm done, man. let me see the next thing.
I mean, it's kind of a, like, there is a famous horror game where, like, it has a twist, and
I know which one you're referring to.
Where, like, the twist is you're not who you think you were, or, like, you're here and you have an unreliable narrator. And then every horror game, kind of in that vein, did it. So it's kind of like, okay, in what way am I not who I think I am?
Right.
Like, the person who I think is alive probably isn't alive. So, like, it really doesn't do much anymore. Like, it's kind of like, okay, how's this game gonna be meta?
I would say, its originality is what I think players tend to end up enjoying most in a game. Because, yeah, it's like, the first time you see this clever concept, you're like, whoa, that was so cool. But, you know, if someone happened to be coming up with the same concept slightly behind, and it's just like, well, okay, now I know it's coming, and it's unfortunate. Where is our very... I know this would be terribly abused, but I want some level of, like, mind-wiping technology to very specifically wipe plots from my head. Nothing else. Just fictional information so that I can enjoy, you know, original work, the same work over and over, but then also similar works without being like, well, this is just a ripoff of X.
I think I disagree, actually, because a lot of what happens in literature, and this has happened, like, tale as old as time, you know. In fact, the picture book that I have pulled out for story time today is a Red Riding Hood story from China. So it is based on the same tropes and themes of Red Riding Hood, but it's told in a different way. In this case, with a different art style, but it exists in conversation with the more traditional Red Riding Hood stories that we know and that we were raised on. And you see this a lot with fairy tales in particular. Folk and fairy tales are often retold and have been retold for hundreds of years in different ways. And it's not that, you know, the stories themselves are like the best stories that there are to tell, but it's that by telling them in different ways and reinventing themes, you know, like Cinder, the whole lunar cycle by Marissa Mayer. Folks love those. I know you love those books, Trina, and they are based on the trope of the Cinderella story.
I guess I shouldn't have said rip off.
It's the way that stories like have conversations with themselves. You know, it's about like what's the same and what's different, and the choices that the people who tell the stories are making.
Right. I should say direct reference, like direct and intentional references are different to me than certain tropes being used over and over again. Like, yeah. That tends to, because I mean, I feel like retellings tend to be like, here I have the same base story, but I am using different tropes to tell that story, rather than here are different stories, but they have the same tropes. And so I know, like, I wasn't expecting it to be similar, and now it is, and that kind of disappoints me, versus I going into a retelling or something based on something, I'm like, all right, I know some of this is going to be similar, so then the stuff that follows that's different is, I don't know, easier to appreciate? I don't know. But it's not, no, absolutely, I'm not, like, against any sort of retelling different versions references, just, I don't know, trying to make commentaries on
No, that makes sense.
And I think
Yeah,
that
tropes.
maybe the point that you're getting to more is just the fact that like it isn't really like, it kind of hits a point where everybody's doing like the exact same retelling without like, with like slightly different shades instead of like a full set new coat of paint, maybe.
Kind of, maybe. Like, I mean, again, going back to books, like, you know, you like when after Hunger Games came out, right? You have the whole wave of dystopian fiction, and it's just, yeah, it's different shades. It's like this doesn't really feel like a different story. It feels like you swapped some names out and like
right,
a setting.
it would be like, okay, Red Riding Hood story. Like it's not like you kind of change it and maybe tell a similar story with like maybe a different perspective or something like that. It's the exact same story except it's Crimson Riding Hood. And it just
Right,
plays
like,
the exact same.
yeah, and I don't want to like, if people haven't heard Lampopo, I don't want to like spoil it, but it's not the exact, like, we took the exact same number of characters, the exact same events, and just picked them up from wherever in Europe and set them down in China. Like, there are actual differences. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it works, I think.
Just as an aside, one of my favorite discoveries in grad school, when I was taking a storytelling class, I learned about this incredible reference tome that's called the Storyteller's Sourcebook. And it's like an encyclopedia of story themes and tropes and stuff. And it is fascinating.
Oh, they turned TV tropes into a book. Awesome.
Yeah, but it's from like the 80s, so
right.
it's not fully
pre-internet.
but it is really, really cool to like flip through this thing. I wound up ordering it on ILL, so I got to keep it for like a month or so, just for like funsies, to like look for, you know, different themes, different stories that get told over and over again, and it really distills them down to like their very most basic elements. So there's like the glass slipper type element, or it's more like the object matching someone's, not foot, but you know,
right,
something like that. Or,
but yeah, classic stuff like Chekhov's gun, or like themes like man versus world, man versus nature. I remember high school lit class.
Yeah. But it's really illuminating for sure, just to see like so much of the breadth of literature and storytelling over like the course of recorded history, being distilled down into those very basic terms, and seeing, you know, how many of the same themes really have been used and reused and repurposed for where we are, you know, in our different cultures, and where we are in our particular position in time, in order to like explore a little more deeply, like reflect back to us what we're experiencing right now. It's just very interesting. Yeah. Anyway, we're like way far away from Undertale.
We had wanted
I can't remember where I was planning on branching off on this, but I think we were talking about just kind of like why it kind of like took off in popularity, even though it's like, yeah, we kind of seen this sort of, and like it's kind of branched off. And I was just gonna throw out the fact that I feel like the fact that a lot of people kind of like hooked on to this game at the beginning, and it just kind of became popular and a thing that you could like bond with other people. Like, I feel like community built the popularity of this game by a lot. Like, it's kind of a long pole, but I kind of feel like it's a similar thing with kind of like the My Little Pony thing. Like, the fact that you could like go out and like a bunch of people were talking about it, or like making art, or like getting excited about like the same thing, I think it was kind of goes into how like community and being able to talk about media helps build the media that people are like interested in.
Yeah. And that actually kind of speaks to a little bit something that I was thinking about when y'all were talking before about wanting things to feel unexpected sometimes. I think about like the era of prestige TV and the like really deep, close engagement by the fans that like Game of Thrones and Westworld and shows like that have inspired. Because you know, with like Game of Thrones, I'm pretty deep into the A Song of Ice and Fire fandom, and folks are still on Reddit like writing full-length essays trying to predict like what's going to happen in the books, and same thing people were doing for the show as it was airing. And you know, Westworld, when it aired and started, like really was trying to like build on like that sort of fan base. And I remember reading like as season 2 was airing, there was an interview with one of the creators, and they said that they had planned out and like had even shot some of season 2, but like after the first couple of episodes aired, like some of the fans were actually able to like pull the pieces together to like make an accurate prediction as to where the story was going, and they actually decided to rewrite the story so that it wouldn't have been predicted by the fans. And that to me seemed like this whole like meta engagement and like the need to be unexpected was taking it like just a little bit too far. Yeah. Just on the like, firstly, don't you think you could just let the fans have that one? And secondly, I mean, like relatedly, I guess, you know, that like kind of discourages that sort of like deep engagement that you probably want your fans to have, because it means that they're more invested in your art and your stories that you're telling. So I don't know. I don't think that, or I worry about creators that get caught up in the need to like, you know, outthink or outsmart their fans and their audience, because that to me doesn't seem like what it should be about.
Right. Like you can absolutely like sort of incorporate fan feedback to an extent. Like, I mean, speaking of Pony, as a former brony Pegasister, I got through like season 7. I got him deep. You know, you have Derpy is like the most famous example probably. It's, hey, we accidentally flipped an eye on one of these like just background images in an episode, and the fandom was like, we like that pony, and made like all this art, and it was like, okay, we'll make her an actual character, sure. Like it's it becomes like, but it's a fun like loving relationship, not a how dare you, I am the one in charge here. Stop that.
Yeah, and Phil, I see you saying why Lost went off the rails and never returned, an essay in 12 parts. Like, don't even get me started.
I did not watch Lost, and I am
who invented
not sorry I didn't.
to outsmart his fans and
like I think that
gibberish at the end.
I think like I heard a few stories that basically did we saw a fan predicted it, so we changed it, like we changed horses mid-river, and like it just was like a mess. Like I think and of course all of these are going to be like, I've heard speculation, I don't know for sure, but I think it was like Lost, Mass Effect may have done that. I think one of the Metal Gear games did that, and there's one other that I was thinking of as I was bringing it up and I forgot it, but like I think all of those, like everybody was just like collectively upset with the change and would have been happier with what the original ending would have been. And I think that there was one that like was like, yeah, no, why would I change that? Good on them if they got it right, but I'm completely blanking on what it was. But yeah, and then people were happy with that ending, so it's like, stop like, this, you don't.
And that can't possibly result in better storytelling. Like, when you have a twist, like, whenever you have a twist ending, there's the moment before the twist and there's the moment after the twist when, like, readers know stuff. And if you've done good storytelling, your audience will still enjoy the thing after they have all the knowledge. Like, the moment of shock lasts for that long, but, like, if they're, like, you know, even if you if there are clues pointing towards your original eventual destination, that means you're writing well. Like, you're not, like, you're letting the reader or the viewer or player be, like, a part of the journey and part of the process, and, like, either they still don't put it together by the end, and they still get the shock value, but then are like, oh yeah, no, that was pointing there the entire time. Whoa! Or they feel really proud of themselves for putting it together, and they enjoy it more because of that. Like,
yeah, that really speaks to why I think I enjoy like Agatha Christie mysteries more than like Sherlock Holmes mysteries.
I have been listening. Okay, so I finally started getting back into audiobooks, right?
Yay.
I looked up what Agatha Christie audiobooks my library had. I was like, you know what? I've read And Then There Were None. I don't remember if I actually read Murder on the Orient Express, but I definitely watched the old movie. And like I've seen Mousetrap and Witness for the Prosecution, and that's it. And I'm like, I know she had like dozens upon dozens of books. Like what else is there? So yeah, no, like even a couple of those, like again, going back to like once you've seen a trope once, you kind of can see it coming again. Like Unreliable Narrator, and I'm like, I bet it's going to end up being like this, and I don't know how she's going to do it, but we'll get there. But I can still appreciate it because I'm like, okay, but this was like 100 years ago, so it probably really hadn't been done very much yet, so
yeah, well, and also, like, the big difference, I think, between her style and, like, Arthur Conan Doyle's style is that, like, yes, a lot of her mysteries follow Hercule Poirot as he is investigating his mysteries, but, like, the books aren't about him as much as they are about the mysteries and the stories themselves. And, you know, she kind of holds the reader's hand just a little bit along the way. Like, it's not outside the realm of possibility to, you know, kind of suss out who the murderer might have actually been. Whereas, like, the Sherlock stories really, like, rely on the infallible genius of this one main hero. Blah, blah, blah. No surprise that... what's-his-face, Stephen Moffat chose him as
okay, now that you say that.
Yeah.
Let's not get into why I stopped watching Doctor Who.
I will say on a side point that it, like, you made a comment of the fact that it's, like, weird when you have, like, a trope that's really common and then people going back and experiencing, like, the origin of that was, like, written before it became a trope and was, like, the source of the tropes. And being like, oh, well, this is old hat. This is just
Lord of the
playing
Rings,
into the old...
yeah. No, it's just like...
Say, like, people who go back and see Lord of the Rings, and it's like, I have seen this before. Like, they're just...
Like, you don't get it. This was the OG.
I just fell down a TV tropes hole the other day that described that as... oh, gosh, there's, like, actual terms for it. There's the unbuilt trope, where, like, we see, like, when you get a certain, like, canon of tropes that we've talked about, like the dystopian teen novel or the twist ending type stuff, then eventually you start to see, like, media that kind of reacts against it and you know, kind of puts a twist on the trope in a way.
Yeah, inverting tropes, subverting tropes.
Right, but the unbuilt trope is, like, such an early example of the trope that, like, the trope itself hasn't actually been solidified yet. So, like, you can kind of see, so it's not quite in there, but it seems like it might be an inverted trope, but it's not. And then there's, like, the trope namers. Anyway, tvtropes.com is a really interesting website that you can spend hours on.
I love it.
I love it more than Wikipedia, to be honest.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no.
It's my Wikipedia.
Because Wikipedia has to be all, like, accurate and scientific and stuff, and that's good. Right. But sometimes I just want to talk about media
criticism. I love. That's why we're here.
It is why we're here. Everyone's homework tonight is to go pull up the TV tropes page for Undertale.
Yeah, that's a good homework assignment. We can chat in our book club Discord channel about the tropes from Undertale. Excellent. Frosty. So I spent 8 hours straight on TV tropes.
I believe
Only
it.
Once. Honestly, is what I have to say.
I mean, I get hungry eventually, and I go, "Oh, it's been a while. I need to go eat something or sleep." But
yeah, sleep is good.
Okay. We did also want to talk some about the music of Undertale and like, cause books one shortcoming I feel is that they do not have music with them. Like sometimes you get people who do audiobooks or like radio productions that'll like kind of weave stuff in there, but in their original state, books do not have a soundtrack, and that is a little sad. But no, Dog Song is not the only song worth discussing. You shush. I think Asgore's theme might actually be my favorite. Megalovania, obviously, you did not hear Mags. You will have to look that one up, but that is, you know, the big Sans fight, like, the biggest, like, headbanging one. But, I don't know, story-wise, obviously the end song is, like, very good at this just, like, I mean, hopes and dreams and, like, determination and, like, swelling, like, I have to save everyone. This is really emotional. But I don't know. Music in general, I find I tend to like the, like, sort of bittersweet, maybe minor keyed, a little sad music a little better. And I feel like Asgore's theme scratches that itch for me. Because, like, it's the, like, neither of you really want to do this. But here we are. And it's, like, it's a fight, but it's a little bit of a sad fight. Yeah. And I'm just, like, I like music.
Yeah, I think I agree with Phil. The umbrella melody is so nice. And I think that they did a clever thing where, like, there's a point in the game when you actually have to interact with it. That's the one that I'm thinking of, right? Is that what I'm thinking of? It's a theme in the game. I have not listened to the soundtrack enough to
I know, you just heard it while trying to play stuff, and you're like, I'm trying to fight people, I can't listen.
Right. Yeah. But there is that one, like, melody that you have to actually, like, enter into.
Play on the piano.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
To unlock. And that was the first time I remembered noticing it. It may have appeared earlier in the game, but that was the first time I actually, like, really paid close attention to it. But then after that, anytime it came up again, I was like, oh yeah, I know this one. I thought that was just a really clever way to get folks to engage with the soundtrack a little bit more. And then, like, when you interact with, like, just the bass notes to enter them into the piano, then you, like, understand the, like, core of the theme. And so then when you start hearing the variations on it, then it, like, really, like, keys you into the emotion of the moment. Because I noticed even at the end that it was playing, and I was like, oh, but this is, like, there's a lot more going on with the music than just the straight melody. It's making me feel all kinds of ways while I'm, like, fighting this person or that person. Yeah.
Giant, yes, Heartache. The music for the Toriel fight is also good at being the sad, but, like, still driving because it's a fight. Like, I don't want to hurt Goat Mom. Mom, you let me leave.
Yeah. Yeah, Ilya, tell us why Home is one that sticks with you. How does it make you feel?
Also, I'm really it was good to watch the game again because I definitely other than, like, I remembered what music went with what fight themes, but I definitely forgot, like, what the area music went with. I'm like, oh right, okay, I recognize this. Okay, this is the hot place. This is Snowden. This is the dating thing.
Yeah.
Dating start.
Dating start. Oh my gosh. Why are they all dating children? I still don't. Like, there's the one child, but why are they all trying to date a child?
Maybe they don't realize you're a child. Like, maybe
it doesn't matter if I flirted first. I'm still a child.
But no, and actually, it's funny that we talked about, like, fan interactions and in conjunction with music, because, well, right now in the background, I of course have one of two fan-made but officially endorsed by Toby Fox soundtracks. We have the jazz one playing right now that's, you know, Insane of the Rain Carlos, and then there's the rock / not electronica. I don't know what the genre the second half of Determination is considered. By Richard Eby, and Amy Waters. She transitioned, if you don't recognize that name. But, and just the fact that, like, you know, we get into these, especially right now, getting into discussions about, like, what we can use on Twitch musically without DMCA coming down on our heads, and, like, copyright and games and music and big mess, and that Toby Fox was just like, yeah, this is cool. In fact, here, I'll put my stamp on it. Not only will I not sue you, I will make this very okay. And I'm just like, oh, that's neat. And, like, you know, it helps benefit. I assume, I actually don't know for sure. I would assume that meant he got, like, you know, some of the money. But it benefits, I think, Toby in that, you know, more advertisement for the game. Because maybe people run across the albums and they're like, oh, this is some good music. What is this from? And it obviously benefits the music creators and just very good cooperation. Cooperation is the name of the game. Be good to your fans.
Going back to the other point, like that I was talking about, like having a good, like, I don't want to call it product, but having a good, like, experience, let's call it, but then also having a good community around it, like, helps build it more than it might have just as one or the other.
Right.
Yeah, and along with music, there's also art style that we could talk about. And I will say the first time I started playing it, I did not realize how recent the game was because of the art style. Like, I assumed
I'm trying to remember
like
when
30 years old.
the, like, retro, like, 16-bit, whatever style started. Because, like, Undertale was part of that trend. I don't think they were the first one, but I assume it kind of... I wasn't actually playing games in that style when I was a child. I was playing educational computer games on the PC. But I assume it plays off of, like, nostalgia. Like, you know, if you're a teen now and you jump into it, you're just like, oh, this looks really old. Okay, but if you're, like, older and you grew up playing these sorts of games, you're like, it's like I'm 8 all over again!
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's... But I feel like they also did more with it than what you probably could at the time, and, like, that kind of goes into, like, what we were talking about earlier, where it's like, you know, you take this thing that is like a story or a theme or a way of telling stories, like the tropes that you're kind of used to, but you, like, change it more than just, like, a slightly different, like, change color hue of paint. Like, they made it a bullet hell. They had you do, like, weird things with interacting with characters. Like, a lot of the stuff is, like, more than what you probably could have gotten on the consoles that like this thing came from.
Yeah. It definitely kind of speaks to, like, a certain flatness in the game, I think. Like, it's very literal, because, you know, it's a 2-dimensional game, so, like, it's flat in that way. But it's kind of an interesting experience playing this game where your choices matter alongside playing The Witcher 3, where your choices matter. And, you know, probably, of course, the experience in The Witcher 3 felt much more rich and immersive, and it was less clear where my choices were going to lead. But, you know, it's a 3D, like, full RPG, 100+ hour game if you do everything like I did. And I don't know, I guess it, in some ways, the experience in Undertale kind of, like, paled in comparison, but like, that's not necessarily Undertale's fault, because it is what it is. It's a 10-hour 2-dimensional game
made by basically one person.
Yeah, right. Made by 1 or 2 people.
It's basically Toby Fox worked on like most of it, and then had assistant. Like I think the main thing other people worked on were like the characters where we were watching the thing, and it said like specifically like this was made by Timmy.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
And it was also made on, I think the Kickstarter started out with like were asking for 10,000 and they ended up getting like 51,000. Someone correct
crap.
me. It may be less than that.
Kickstarter and games is just such a. It's been wild to see what that combination has done.
Oh, sorry, it was only 5,000 that they were asking for initially, and they ended up getting 51,000.
I thought you were about to
like
say they
on a
only
budget
got
of
5,000, and I'm
51,000.
like, that's not how Kickstarter works. But
Wow, that's incredible. But yeah, so like it's totally different. It doesn't necessarily make one any better or worse than another. It's just interesting how that like kind of two-dimensional format does like play out throughout the story as well, I think, and the choices. They're much more linear and straightforward. Ilya says, can we talk about Toby Fox getting to create a song for Nintendo?
oh, because
y'all
he
know
got
that
to.
story?
Okay, I know Sans is in Smash in some capacity. What song did and like is it? It makes sense to me that there would therefore be an Undertale song or an Undertale based song in Smash, but I don't actually know which one. So Ilya, please tell.
Yeah. Please talk about it.
Oh no, something else. He wrote a Pokemon song. I don't.
Yeah, I think they brought him on to
Oh.
write one of the songs for one of the more recent Pokemon games.
Ah.
Oh, it's a Megalovania. Oh, yeah.
Oh, the Smash one is a Megalovania.
They
Okay.
got Megalovania
Probably.
remix and Smash with the costume, but he wrote a song for Sword and Shield, I think.
Neat. It's a battle tower thing. Yeah, okay. I could see. If you had asked me to guess, I probably would have assumed it was something battle related. But
Oh, neat.
I will have to listen to that at some point. Okay, so I know Deltarune exists, but I haven't played it. So it's not like it doesn't take place in the world of Undertale, does it? Also, isn't it not a complete game?
It's not a complete game. The first chapter was made. There's a lot of questions. Because you're playing as a different character, and most of the characters from the game are there, but they're in significantly different circumstances. So I feel like a lot of people left it with a what?
Huh.
At the end, they were excited to see it. They were excited to see the characters that they enjoyed back, but there wasn't really a direct connection. It was just like, oh, here's a story. By the way, Sans is here.
Okay, so we will have to wait until more chapters come out, if more chapters
Right.
come out, to see if it's actually like the same. Yeah, whether they're actually the same characters or if they're AU versions. Which, you know what? As a fan fiction reader, I appreciate a well done AU, so I'd accept either.
Yeah, makes sense if it's an alternate universe because like Deltarune is literally the word is a remix of Undertale, right? Yeah.
So I'm bad at recognizing anagrams.
I just know it because Hipster said it the other day.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't watching that stream. But...
And also, I had never heard it discussed outside of the context of video game music. Like, I hear our VGM friends playing the theme from it all the time, and I like see people going Deltarune, and I'm like, is it a game? Is it a song? I don't know.
The soundtrack is very good. There's a reason why
Confession?
there's a lot.
I feel the same about Megalovania. Is it a game? Is it a song?
It is a
It's
song.
a song that plays when you fight Sans, and it was from another one of the projects that Toby worked worked on originally,
Oh.
and then it became the song that plays when you fight Sans.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that.
I posted it in book club chat so you can listen to it without having to go through all of genocide.
Or
So
No Mercy, yes.
do you only play Sans or fight against Sans in the No Mercy run?
Mercy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm correcting myself. I apologize, Phil.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to beat it out of me.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense why Toby is not a fan of that phrase. It's not,
Yeah.
not really a fun word in, you know, the context of the world. So,
Yeah. I'm sorry, what was your question? Do you only fight Sans in the No Mercy route?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the question.
Yes. Like, he is the ultimate boss at the end of that route, and that's the only way to fight him.
Phil is showing mercy. Thank you for letting us know though, Phil. And
Yeah,
for,
no, I had
pointing
not.
that out.
I was actually
Very
unaware of
important.
that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, Dr. Tay, please put the Sand Simulator in book club chat. We will play with it later. That sounds fascinating.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, someone made a website where you're able to basically play through the fight, so you can practice without having to go through the whole route.
Oh boy.
Which is good,
Cool.
because it is an incredibly tough fight.
Are there? Does that
Cool.
exist for other fights? Like, what if I want to just see if I could
don't
kill
think
things
so.
without actually killing things?
Like, to express how difficult they thought the fight was going to be going into it, and to kind of get into like the save like knowledge, Sans mocks you when you load a save file after losing. He's like, "What's with that face? It looks like the face of somebody that lost 4 times or 5 times." And then he's like, I think you get up to like teenths or something, and he's like, "What's the word for like conjugating the like 18 to be that number?" And eventually it's just like, let's just do it.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah, I'm really glad that I did not wind up playing the Sans Simulator on stream then, because that sounds stressful and hard, and everybody got to witness me failing enough, okay? Y'all saw me die plenty of times. You don't need more.
Oh no, Trina's...
Oh,
come
you're
on.
back.
Trina!
Come back. I'm here.
There you
Okay.
That's funny.
Okay.
It is funny though, because they kind of jokingly mock you if you're losing against Sans, because like when you check him, he's the weakest enemy. Like that's the text line for him, and it's like, oh well, his attack is 1, but he like deals a bunch of damage in 1 damage increments as like basically poison damage.
Oof.
And like that gets around like your armor and weapons don't matter because he basically cheats.
Mm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Pixie Volt says, played a little of Deltarune. It has an interesting spin on the pacifism thing. It starts out assuming and encouraging your pacifism, but gives you a party member who's actively violent. So
Oh, yeah, that's
thwarting
true.
her is an additional wrinkle. Interesting.
Yeah, you basically have to fight against a party member to keep the people that you're trying to spare alive.
Wow. So then you have to choose, like, at what point is it like far enough into the game that you're like emotionally invested in this person, or is it kind of early on? Do you remember?
Say, how long is a chapter?
Yeah, it's a chapter, so like it's basically like we're trying to give you like a taste of things, but we don't have enough time to really kind of build up a big connection.
So yeah, probably not emotionally invested. Interesting. Cool.
All right. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about on the book, or do we want to get to some of our other regular book club features?
I don't know. I think I'm pretty
Yeah, I think we kind of
Solid.
covered a
Feel
decent
good.
amount of stuff.
Yeah.
We're
So,
an hour in.
What's everyone been reading recently? I already said I've been working my way through Agatha Christie audiobooks. I think I'm on my 5th one. Death on the Nile, Death in the Clouds, ABC Murders. I'm on Lord Edgware Dies. Oh, Murder of Roger Ackroyd. So,
cool.
most of those are like after Orient Express and then there were a lot of the better known ones, but I'm not really going in any particular order. Just sort of picking what looks interesting.
Hermione just finished The Skin I'm In by Sharon Flake, middle grade book.
I would probably recognize the cover of that if I looked it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have not read it before, but it's one of those that's like always kind of been on my list. Would like to. I have been, let's see, we've been listening to, this one is tricky because my husband has put it on. We like listen to an audiobook as we fall asleep every night. So I've missed a lot of what is happening in this story. But it is called, shoot, I'm like totally blanking on it. It's kind of a mid-grade fantasy novel of like a young mage. There's an amulet that's super powerful that he's stolen. I'm gonna look it up and see if I can find it. But otherwise, most of my spare time has been spent playing The Witcher, and I will be happy to talk about that more with anybody who's interested. I really, really enjoyed that experience.
Phil is still
In
working
my
on
free
Dark
time,
Tower.
when I've been reading, it's mostly been technical books. I'm trying to expand knowledge on that.
What kind of technical?
Like programming?
Just programming stuff. Different languages or libraries. I'm playing Bug Fables.
Bug Fables.
I know I will love Bug Fables because I know it's basically the Paper Mario sequel we all wanted. I just haven't gotten around to actually buying it on a sale. You know how Steam is. You're like, okay, well, it's on sale, but if I wait longer, it will be more on sale later.
I mean, it's like $15, I think.
I know.
That much, and like when it is on sale, it's not going to be on sale for like that much.
I know. It's the principle.
Yeah,
thing.
it's Paper Mario from people who are like, hey, Nintendo, could you make a Paper Mario game that's in the style and has unique characters of like the first two games?
Yeah.
And Nintendo's like, nah, and they're like, fine, we'll do it ourselves.
The Amulet of Samarkand
Ooh.
is what that book is called.
Steam is not working with me. Sir, please, let me look at your store.
But also I have to debate whether, like, okay, I do want to eventually, like, do my own streams on my own channel again someday. And, like, that would probably be what I would enjoy doing. So I also am, like, sort of, like, holding off on that, even though I'm probably not going to stream on my own channel again until I get a new house.
Yeah, that's understandable, but it's a good game. I would definitely suggest people play it if they like the original Paper Mario games. I've gotten to like the last chapter of the most recent Yakuza game. It is also very good. I would also suggest that to people interested in the Yakuza series, but I still need to finish it.
Platinum Pikachu is asking, for someone who has never played The Witcher, would you recommend it? It depends on what you're into, much like anything. I had never played any of the like Witcher 1 or 2 and was like just fine in the story. It's definitely for someone who enjoys a little more of the like sort of open world RPG. I have tried to play like Skyrim and Oblivion before and like kind of liked them, but would eventually just kind of get lost in like overabundance of choices. But I don't know, something about the story of The Witcher is a little more linear and like gives you a little bit more direction. So I was able to stay more invested in it to like really get through the story. And so I really enjoyed it. And if you like Zelda games, I mean, if you like Breath of the Wild, probably, I'm guessing it's probably similar. I haven't actually played Breath of the Wild. But
It's okay.
Yeah. Side note, I haven't played too many Zelda games.
You are not alone in on the team, just for the record.
Also, I did not join the team as a gamer. I'm an administrator.
That is true. Okay? We picked you up for a very specific reason, and it wasn't games.
Right.
We'll fix that.
Right.
There's been plenty of single player games that I've made into multiplayers by being like, hey, you want to play a segment of this?
Right. Or hey, you want to hang out while I play Undertale over the course of a few streams. Yeah, and so especially if you like high fantasy type stuff, The Witcher's got a lot of that. You fight a lot of like classic fantasy monsters. The combat style is, you know, not terribly difficult. If you're a button masher, you can get through.
No, that's me
There's
too.
like potions you can brew to help. Not too intricate of a character build. Like you can like really dig into your stats if you want to, but you don't have to. You can grind if you want to, or you can just, you know.
And from what I've seen, there's definitely a lot of room to get rewarded if you like work really hard on building characters. Like I've seen some videos on builds for The Witcher, so like there's that too if it's something that interests you.
Yeah.
Also, full disclosure, I feel like most people, like the majority of people who have played The Witcher 3 haven't played Witcher 2 or 1.
No, you don't need it. It references the like pieces of the story that you need from before enough that it's fine. I did watch the Netflix series before, but the entire time my husband had to like tell me what was going on with that.
Who's
stuff.
that?
What?
What is he doing?
It's like now I kind of want to go back and watch that again because I'm sure I will get a lot more out of it. Yeah, so definitely.
I know this character.
Recommend. Yeah, I wanted to play 100 hours of the game. The last 10 hours or so, I was ready to be done. But the first 100 were really excellent, and I would go back and play again after taking a break. Ready to play some other stuff for a while.
I'm definitely interested to hear from when you play the DLC games or stories.
For sure. We'll talk. It won't be too long a break. You just need to like get through a RimWorld colony or two to cleanse the imagination.
Finish our play by cloud game.
Oh god, so like see you in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any other current games or movies, TV shows, books? Anything else?
Finally
y'all
started.
care
I
about?
finally bought Age of Calamity like 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
After it's been out for like what, a year-ish? But
I don't think it's been nearly that
Has it
long.
not?
Like
Okay.
I think it
It's
came
been a
out
few
near
months.
the end of last year.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
for
I feel like it's
Christmas,
been
and
long
I've not
enough
played
that
it much.
people have stopped talking about it. Though that's true. I am just in time for the DLC to release, so yay.
Yeah, November
timing?
20th,
Oh, okay.
2020. Yeah.
Okay, then it hasn't been that long. It felt like a long time.
Pandemic time, which is
True.
like every month is a year. So.
True.
I mean, we're still in March of 2020, right?
Right.
half of that is about to be right again.
Well, it's 2021, but yeah.
Yes, the March half is about to be right, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
I really believe that.
Inka's really into the Hyrule Warrior games, and she's played it a lot, and I've not played that much.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not even like
I've gotten more use out of the waffle maker I got for Christmas than the game.
Like, honestly, it's not even my favorite style of game, but I'm just like, you know what? It's alright.
Well, I
challenge.
think with what work has been like for Inka, like a game that she could just sit down and like beat up a
Smash
bunch
things.
of people and just not have to worry that much about what button she's pressing has been helpful.
Let's go, fellow button mashers of the world. There's no shame in the way you play your game, okay? The way I play my game. Yeah. All right. Well, are y'all ready for a little story time?
I say, let me turn off Carlos's very good, yeah. But
probably not appropriate.
Probably. I do not want to distract from the wonderful work of Ed Young.
Yeah, are you able to like uncrop me or like feature me a little more or something?
Yeah, we need
another scene.
I do need another scene, but in the meantime, I will just destroy both me and Hipster's cams. Hold on, let me put me.
Bye.
I tilt this down a little bit.
No, underneath. Put me. Move.
More comfortable.
Okay. Well. Oh, there we go. Actually, no. Let me drag you to the top of like everything. There we go.
There we go. Oh, good. Hermione knows this book. It's a really good one.
There we go. We can still sort of see the rest of us. Go for it.
Perfect. So, welcome to our storytime segment of the book club stream. Today's story, we have Lan Po Po, written by Ed Young. It's a Red Riding Hood story from China. I love the art in this book. It is so beautiful. I'm sure I've got this all. Lan Po Po. To all the wolves of the world for lending their good name as a tangible symbol for our darkness. Once, long ago, there was a woman who lived alone in the country with her 3 children, Shang, Tao, and Paozi. On the day of their grandmother's birthday, the good mother set off to see her, leaving the 3 children at home. Before she left, she said, "Be good while I am away, my heart-loving children. I will not return tonight. Remember to close the door tight at sunset and latch it well." But an old wolf lived nearby and saw the good mother leave. At dusk, disguised as an old woman, he came up to the house of the children and knocked on the door twice. Bang, bang. Shang, who was the eldest, said through the latched door, "Who is it?" "My little jewels," said the wolf. "This is your grandmother, your Po Po." "Po Po," Shang said, "our mother has gone to visit you." The wolf acted surprised. "To visit me? I have not met her along the way. She must have taken a different route." "Po Po," Shang said, "how is it that you come so late?" The wolf answered, "The journey is long, my children, and the day is short." Shang listened through the door. "Po Po," she said, "why is your voice so low?" "Your grandmother has caught a cold, good children, and it is dark and windy out here. Quickly open up and let your Po Po come in," the cunning wolf said. Tao and Paozi could not wait. One unlatched the door and the other opened it. They shouted, "Po Po, Po Po, come in!" At the moment he entered the door, the wolf blew out the candle. "Po Po," Shang asked, "why did you blow out the candle? The room is now dark." The wolf did not answer. Tao and Paozi rushed to their Po Po and wished to be hugged. The old wolf held Tao. "Good child, you are so plump." He embraced Paozi. "Good child, you have grown to be so sweet." Soon the old wolf pretended to be sleepy. He yawned. "All the chicks are in the coop," he said. "Po Po is sleepy too." When he climbed into the big bed, Paozi climbed in at once at one end with the wolf, and Shang and Tao climbed in at the other. But when Shang stretched, she touched the wolf's tail. Po Po, your foot has a brush on it." "Po Po has brought hemp strings to weave you a basket," the wolf said. Shang touched grandmother's sharp claws. Po Po, your hand has thorns on it." "Po Po has brought an awl to make shoes for you," the wolf said. At once Shang lit the light and the wolf blew it out again.
but Shang had seen the wolf's hairy face. "Popo, Popo," she said, for she was not only the eldest, she was the most clever. "You must be hungry. Have you eaten ginkgo nuts?" "What is ginkgo?" the wolf asked. "Ginkgo is soft and tender, like the skin of a baby. One taste and you will live forever," Shang said, "and the nuts grow on the top of the tree just outside the door." The wolf gave a sigh. "Oh dear, Popo is old. Her bones have become brittle. No longer can she climb trees." "Good Popo, we can pick some for you," Shang said. The wolf was delighted. Shang jumped out of bed, and Tao and Paozi came with her to the ginkgo tree. There, Shang told her sisters about the wolf, and all three climbed up the tall tree. The wolf waited and waited. Plump Tao did not come back. Sweet Paozi did not come back. Shang did not come back, and no one brought any nuts from the ginkgo tree. At last, the wolf shouted, "Where are you, children?" "Popo," Shang called out. "We are on top of the tree eating ginkgo nut." "Good children," the wolf begged, "pluck some for me." "But Popo, ginkgo is magic only when it is plucked directly from the tree. You must come and pluck it from the tree yourself." The wolf came outside and paced back and forth under the tree where he heard the three children eating ginkgo nuts at the top. "Oh, Popo, these nuts are so tasty. The skin so tender," Shang said. The wolf's mouth began to water for a taste. Finally, Shang, the eldest and most clever child, said, "Popo, Popo, I have a plan. At the door there is a big basket. Behind it is a rope. Tie the rope to the basket, sit in the basket, and throw the other end to me. I can pull you up." The wolf was overjoyed and fetched the basket and the rope, then threw the end of the rope to the top of the tree. Shang caught the rope and began to pull the basket up and up. Halfway, she let go of the rope, and the basket and the wolf fell to the ground. "I am so small and weak, Popo," Shang pretended. "I could not hold the rope alone." "This time I will help," Tao said. "Let us do it again." The wolf had only one thought in his mind: to taste a ginkgo nut. He climbed into the basket again. Now Shang and Tao pulled the rope on the basket together, higher and higher. Again they let go, and again the wolf tumbled down, down, and bumped his head. The wolf was furious. He growled and cursed. "We could not hold the rope, Popo," Shang said, "but only one ginkgo nut, and you will be well again." "I shall give a hand to my sisters this time," Paozi, the youngest, said. "This time we shall not fail." Now the children pulled the rope with all of their strength. As they pulled, they sang, "Hey yo, hey yo," and the basket rose straight up, higher than the first time, higher than the second time, higher and higher until it nearly reached the top of the tree. When the wolf reached out, he could almost touch the highest branch. But at that moment, Shang coughed, and they let go of the rope, and the basket fell down and down and down. Not only did the wolf bump his head, but he broke his heart to pieces. "Popo!" Shang shouted, but there was no answer. "Popo!" Tao shouted, but there was no answer. "Popo!" Paozi shouted. There was still no answer. The children climbed to the branches just above the wolf and saw that he was truly dead. Then they climbed down, went into the house, closed the door, locked the door with the latch, and fell peacefully asleep. F's in chat for the wolf. On the next day, their mother returned with baskets of food from their real Popo, and the three sisters told her the story of the Popo who had come. The end. There's my little wolf in the background. Do you want any ginkgo nuts, Amber?
Nah, not about that ginkgo
She's
life.
good. Sad ending. I love this book. I love how creepy it is. I was actually really impressed, like just looking on my camera, how well the kind of watercolor style comes through over the internet, because it is so just kind of like vague and blurry. You
Yeah,
don't
it
really
was
need
really
all the
neat.
fine detail. Yeah.
Right.
I don't want that wolf face looking up at me, back at me in my bed. No, thank you.
Right. Shane got out there right quick when she saw that face.
That's gonna be a note from her.
Right. Yeah, but we were talking a little before about like retellings and how they can play on one another. So it's definitely neat to see some of the different like cultural elements from China, especially like in the art style itself. Like, as you can tell, the illustrations are all drawn in these panels that very much resemble a like traditional. There's a certain kind of art, and I don't remember what it's called. I can't remember if it says in the back here. The authentic Oriental paper cut technique of the Emperor and the Kite. I guess that's one of the styles that Young uses. But anyway, there's like the traditional panel style. And so he kind of embeds a lot of new life and meaning into this, Red Riding Hood story. So...
And maybe it's a minor thing to pick up on, but like I feel like one thing that you can kind of get with retellings is kind of changing, like it's not necessarily the role, but sort of like if you think about it in the Red Riding Hood story, like she's going to the location and going into the danger, but like in this situation the danger is coming into like their environment. But also like in the other story, like I think even in the original, like she gets eaten and then big huntsman man comes in to save the day, whereas in this instance of danger, the person in danger is the one to save themselves. So
it's
like
the child's cleverness that is their salvation, not the man ex axina.
with violence.
Right. Right. I mean, they still use violence. I have actually, like, depending on the age of the kids I'm reading this with, I've just kind of glossed over the killing of the wolf at the end, although
right.
I don't know, I feel like broke his heart to pieces is already kind of like not a phrasing they would be familiar with, and so it, they can interpret it like, oh, he's
very sad and he went away.
Exactly. He's fine.
I didn't go nuts. Guess I'll go.
Yeah.
It's less of a like brute force approach to it than the other story.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it kind of like I'm trying to remember if I've actually tried to like think through if there was a particular reason that they did like multiple takes. If it was just like her trying to like, does this work? Does this work? Or if it is sort of a like trying to warn him off, like, we're giving you a chance, we're on to you, leave. Like, by the time the wolf is just like, you should have seen this coming, dude.
I don't know. I think that there's definitely something to like the repetition within like fairy tales, the way they're told themselves. Like every time Shang speaks to the wolf, she says "popo" twice. She says "popo, popo," and goes on. So I think that it was a little bit of the repetition piece.
Patterns in storytelling.
Yeah, that all familiar rule of threes, for sure.
Tying it into video games, there's normally 3 rounds on stuff that you got to do with the boss fight, and people are confused when there's more or less than that.
So true. I guess the first couple of drops, they didn't drop him from high enough to bump his head and break his heart to pieces. So they had to get it right. Final boss. Yeah. Well, do we have anything else for
Other
our book
than
club stream tonight?
information about next month?
Yeah, tell us what we got, Trina.
Well, for starters, we don't got Mags.
I'm moving. I'm taking a break.
Understandable.
She's been living out of boxes. That is not putting her in a situation to host, but it's okay. I won't be by myself. I won't even be just me and another person. Both Maeve and Monica will be keeping me company. So
excellent.
An excellent trio, I think. And we will be covering Ella Enchanted. Which I have never seen the movie adaptation. I've heard things, but if you've never read the book is excellent and covers some interesting themes, I think. And that will be hold on, let me pull up my calendar.
You want to talk about personal agency? Boy, have we got the book for you.
Oh, right, because the days in March line up with the days in February. It will also be the 20th next month. So
excellent.
March 20th, next Books Club. So yeah, be there. We'll talk about it, and it'll be a good time. And Mags, I hope you can at least have chat open and be talking
I will
with us that
probably
way.
hold it on my phone as I'm painting a wall. It's the weekend before we move, but yep, I'll be around. I love that book, and I can't wait to read it again and see what y'all have to say.
Yeah.
And then coming up next week, we have some streams.
Hold on, let me find the calendar. Let's see.
We stream a lot on this channel now.
We've
next
got
Friday,
Dark Souls.
Or this is partially what stuff that's already happened. Oh no, you're right. Dark Souls again.
Yeah, we have Dark Souls on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Fun Euro-friendly stream.
More Narvik.
More Narvik playing Dark Souls 3, and then we have Mojo that's gonna do knitting on Friday from 1 to what is that? 4
which
Eastern time.
Hopefully she has a functional house by then. But,
hopefully that is true. She is in Texas.
We should check with her.
Hermione, I hope you're staying warm and your power's gotten back on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Also, we've got OOT randomizer Tuesday with MC.
Oh, nice.
That I'm assuming is at 6:30, the usual.
Probably the usual
afternoon.
Trina is still finishing up work and just has to sort of sneak on her phone.
But yeah, Mojo knitting streams pretty fun most of the time, so be sure to check that out. Like it is a chill hangout with friends stream. I don't know if she has
wholesome.
anything. Yeah, very low energy, good vibes all around, so be sure to check that out.
Excellent.
All right.
Friends.
Dark, you had a plan for rating. Please tell us or implement your plan for rating. But thanks for coming out, everyone. We'll see you around, and hope you enjoy your stuff. Oh, right, Zeldathon UK. Charity games. We love it. But
yeah, not to be confused. They're not really truly in any way affiliated with this Zeldathon team, but they are a different Zeldathon team who are hosting their own charity marathon right now. So we'll go check them out and give them some love.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Good night, friends.